Hi everyone. So I thought I'd get the camera going while I get myself sorted out. So I welcome you to Mystic Cody, where I do everything from exploring the cemeteries to mediumship to all sorts really. Yeah, to all sorts really. I'm just getting my spirit box set up because I'm planning on doing a spirit box session. So I know I said I'll never, well, not never come back here again, but I think I said at the end of last year that I said I'm going to give this cemetery a bit of a break because I've been here so many times that it's starting to get a bit boring filming here. So if it's boring for me to film here, then it must be boring for you guys to watch, because I'm kind of repeating myself, so to speak. But I had no plans for today. I had no plans to go out to make a video. I wasn't planning on going to London or going to Portsmouth or even next weekend. I'm not really planning on going anywhere or doing anything in a way of cemetery or exploring or anything. So that's the reason why I'm back at this cemetery, because I will be honest with you guys, it's getting rather expensive. Yeah, train fare, bus fare. It's getting expensive. So I have to come back to these places just to keep the cost down and to also give you guys a video to watch. So I have gave the paranormal, mediumship, that kind of thing, I have gave it a bit of a break. I found out that not many people are really interested in what I call real paranormal. People are really interested in fake paranormal. I can fake the paranormal quite easily, like all the other channels do, but it's not something I do, if that makes sense. It's not something I do. I can quite easily do it, but then I lose all credibility for doing it. Ooh. So in that sense, I'm kind of like, I've got, where I live, there is haunted locations where I live, but most of them are hotels and most of them are pubs, and they either don't want people like me in there filming, or it costs money. So yeah, where I live is pretty difficult to film a hotel or a pub or a restaurant or whatever. So I'll do with what I can. That's it. So we are going to have a bit of a walk around today. See what's new, see what's old. Right by main road as well. So what I'm going to do, guys, while I'm sitting down, I'm going to do a spirit box session now. And then we're going to have a bit of a walk around, and then I'm going to do another spirit box session. Now, I know some of you guys saying, well, cemeteries are not haunted. I don't know. I've been to a few cemeteries and I think to myself, or not think to myself, but I say to myself, this must be a haunted cemetery because there's quite a lot of, I'm picking up on quite a lot of stuff. Like Anne's Hill Cemetery. I know Anne's Hill Cemetery is haunted. And there are days where I pick up on stuff and there's days where I don't. Cemeteries, again, depending on where the location is. Depends on the history of the cemetery, like what was here before. Yeah, was it a farmer's field or was there a mansion on that on that piece of land before they turned it into a cemetery? So what was here before? What did they used to use this piece of land for before they turned it into a cemetery? Now, this cemetery dates back to at least 1930s, around about that time, maybe a bit earlier, 1920s. Over in that corner, over there, there's graves date back to the 1930s. Obviously, on this side, you got a little bit of mixed, you got a little bit of old and new on this side. So, what was on here before the 1920s? Was it a farmer's field? Or was it just an empty lot for the last couple of thousand years? So yeah, it does make you wonder. And that's the thing about places like this. So people build houses on empty fields, right? Not really thinking what was there before, and then all of a sudden their house is haunted. And it's not the actual house that is haunted. It's the ground that the house is built on, or the shop, or whatever. That where it's built on, which makes the house haunted. So I'm just hoping that lot's not coming. I've just noticed about quite a few people over there walking, but I'm hoping they're not coming this way. So yeah, it's not necessarily the house that's haunted. It may be the land itself. Also, I like to believe that every cemetery, can't really say around the world, but here in the UK, I like to think that cemeteries are haunted. I'm not saying what I'm about to say. I'm not saying it's true. Again, myths and legends, but I like to think that they are. Um, Back in the day, I'm talking thousands of years ago, when cemeteries were starting to be a thing. What they used to do is they used to either sacrifice a person, or they would obviously wait for a person to die of whatever causes, and they used to say that that person, that very first person that is buried in a cemetery, haunts that cemetery for all eternity to protect the cemetery from evil, from horrible stuff, and they're more of like a keeper, a protector of that cemetery. Again, myths and legends. There's no actual proof that backs that up, but it does make for a good story. So I like to think there's at least one spirit that wanders the cemetery. keeping an eye on all the other graves, and when a person is buried here, that spirit helps that soul to move on to wherever they need to go, and things like that. To me, sounds comforting, knowing that there's a spirit here helping other spirits to move on. Because again, yeah, there is stories out there where, and I do kind of believe it, because I used to work in a care home, and death was a big thing in care homes, where, and again, I've got some stories about care homes that's happened to me, but the spirit or the soul of that person normally stays with the body until the day of their funeral. And once they have their funeral, and whether they're buried or cremated, and then their spirit moves over to the spirit world or wherever they need to go. And there is some truth behind that. The soul tends to linger, normally the place where they died, or like I said, they stay with the body until till they're buried or cremated, and they move on. And there's a lot of truth behind that, because I'm going to share a little story. I don't know whether I shared this with you, but I'm going to share it, and then I'll do a spirit box session. So I used to work in 2 care homes, and both care homes had a very weird, heavy feeling about care homes, and hospitals as well. But in hospitals you don't really think about it, because you're more interested about why you're there, so to speak. But anyway, care homes. So the first care home I worked in, there was this man. He was very racist, very old-fashioned, very racist, horrible piece of work. And he knew that he was dying. He knew that if there was a heaven and there was a hell, that he wouldn't be going to heaven for all the nasty things that he did when he was here on this earth. He knew that he was going to hell if there was a hell. Anyway, so I was on holiday. He passed away while I was on holiday. And there's quite a few funeral homes around where I live. And I walked past this one particular van. I knew it was a van for people that have died. So what they do, what funeral homes do, is that when the person dies, they get a phone call from the undertakers. So the undertakers get a phone call from the care home to come and pick the body up, and then they take it to a funeral home or whatever. So I walked past this van, and I had this real horrible gut feeling. It was the same feeling. It was horrible. I can't even describe how horrible this feeling is. The only feeling I can kind of describe is like if you really hate a person to a point where like you just cannot stand to be in the same space as that person, and you just feel that anger and that rage, and your stomach turns into knots, and you feel sick, and because you hate that person so much. That's the kind of feeling I had when I walked past this van. But I kind of like brushed it off, and just carried on about my day, because like I said, it was my holiday, so I got better things to do. Anyway, went back to work the following week, and I asked the carers how it was, blah blah blah, and all the rest of it. And he said, "Oh, did you hear about so and so?" I'm like, "No." "Oh, this person has died." I'm like, "Okay, so when did this person die? Just out of interest." And they said the day that this person died. And I'm like, "Ah, okay." Now, again, I can't remember what day this person died. I can't remember the day that I walked past his van. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But I'm thinking to myself, even now, I think to myself, was it that day that I walked past that van, knowing what that van is, knowing what's inside that van? Was it that person in the back of the van? Yeah, gone, deceased, crossed over, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I had to. I'm one of those people. I had to go and physically look to see whether the member of staff was telling the truth, because that's how much of a nasty piece of work he was. I had to go and physically look for confirmation that this person is no longer with us. That's how much of a nasty person he was. And what the member of staff said was true. Not saying the person was a liar, but it's just one of those things you had to check. Or I had to check anyway. As I got closer and closer to this person's room, again, the more of that horrible, negative, nasty feeling I had. The same feeling I had when each time I went in there, and each time, or that time when I walked past the van. And as I got closer and closer, I felt more dread, and got to the room, and the room was empty. There's nothing. No furniture. It was just a bed. No furniture. No blankets on the bed. Nothing. The room was completely empty. And for about 2 weeks, I had to go past that room to go to the room next to that room, because there was a lady next to that room that I had to go and care for. And every single day, I had that horrible, dreaded feeling. The spirit of that man was still. It was a man. The spirit of that man was still in the care home, even though his body was no longer there. And yeah, for about 2 weeks, even though his stuff wasn't in there, even though he wasn't in there, he was still there. His spirit was still there, and I kind of ignored it. Anyway, so I was talking to another member of staff, and we was talking about this man. Don't know how the topic turned into this subject, but we were talking about him, and without me saying anything, this member of staff said to me, "He's still here. He hasn't left." And with that, as he said that, I had this big cheesy grin on my face, and I turned and looked at him and said, "Yeah, I know. I can still feel him as well." And the energy, that feeling, that energy kind of like disappeared after a while. Sometime later, the lady next to his room, or opposite his room, she died. Sweet, lovely lady. She's one of those people, she either likes you or she doesn't. But she liked me for some weird reason. And each time the member of staff had a trouble with her, like she refused to do whatever, the member of staff used to get me to go and sort her out, because she would do anything that I asked her to do. That makes sense. So each time I got close to her room after she died, she was still there. Even though her room was empty, she was still there for a couple of weeks. And then she finally crossed over, or go wherever they go when you die. So yeah, they do linger around. Again, depends on how that person died, whether it's a tragic death or whether they are horrible, nasty pieces of work. They tend to hang around because they're scared to move on. So yeah, I do feel that they do linger. We all know this anyway. Yeah, if you're into the paranormal, you know that they hang around. You know that they linger. You know, for however long. Whether it be a couple of days, couple of weeks, couple of years, whatever. Or until someone goes in and tells them it's okay to move on. Anyway, let's get the spirit box out and let's see whether anyone's here that wants to talk. Like I said, guys, there is more stories. That's just 2 out of a couple of stories. But yeah, they do linger. And again, you don't have to be into the paranormal. You don't have to be psychic. You don't have to be a medium. You just got to believe that there is something more greater than what you see in here every day. You don't have to be religious. You just got to believe there's something more greater than what we experience in this world. My theory is there is no heaven, there is no hell. I personally believe that we're living in hell right now. This is hell. Again, and when you decide that you don't want to be in hell anymore, you leave your body and then you go to a better place. A place where it's peaceful, nice, relaxing, calming, peaceful, loving, caring. A beautiful place. Yeah, a beautiful, loving place where you don't have to pay bills, you don't have to pay taxes. And you travel wherever you want, free of charge. Get there in a fraction of a second. List goes on. List goes on. So let's get my spirit box sorted out. I've done it again, haven't I? I didn't turn off my Bluetooth, so I might have trouble getting this sorted out. So let's get my spirit box on the go. Let's get it turned on. Sweet mate. I always have problem with this speaker. Always. It never wants to work when I want it to. Because the speaker always wants to connect to my... The speaker always wants to connect to my phone. Especially when I'm recording. Thing is, I don't want to stop the camera and then restart the camera. If I don't have to. Oh, there it goes. So is there anyone that wants to come and communicate with us today? Is there anyone here that wants to come and say hi? That wants to come and communicate? Tell us your story. Don't be shy, come and say hello. I am picking up quite a lot of radio stations. Come and say hello if you're still around. Is there cemetery haunted? If this cemetery is haunted, come and say hello.
Electronica was held.
Now I've got this playing in reverse, but I'm not sure what that said, but it actually said it clearly. Something about electrical, but I've actually got this playing in reverse, if that makes sense. That was really loud and really clear. I've got to play that back and listen to that properly. If you come and speak into this black box, I can hear you. And we can have a little bit of a chat. If you are here, what's your name? Look, what's your name? Is this your first time trying to communicate? Because I take it there's not many people come here and do this. So I kind of understand if you're struggling to communicate. So what I'm going to do, guys, because I'm recording in 4K, and it's going to use up quite a lot of my memory on my phone, I may do a part 1, part 2. So I'm going to end the video here. Then I'm going to change the settings on my phone, because I can't do it while I'm recording. Change the setting on my phone to HD, which will use less memory, and I'll do more of a spirit box session, if that makes sense, in part 2. Um, I may even do a little bit of a walk around as well in part 2. So part 2 will be a little bit of a walk around and a little bit more of a spirit box session. And I may pick one of the graves here, instead of just trying to call out to any spirit. I'll go to one particular grave and see whether I can communicate with that person, if that makes sense. So bear with me. I will be back soon in part 2. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.